Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. The field's not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum NFTs. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a
40.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Freaking no more to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits, yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, miny, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. I had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So I had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
GM, welcome to Coffee with Captain. Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Cap, no co-host today, but it's a Friday. Fridays are a free-for-all show. Open stage, as always. Feel free to join us if you'd like to jump into the conversation or have anything on your mind. You're also welcome to drop those comments, questions, and thoughts in the chat down below. Not only are we live here on X Audio Spaces, we are live on X Video, as well as YouTube and Abstract. My Friday ask, my Friday wish in return for this Coffee with Captain, 2 double dipping this week, 2 Coffee with Captains. We're going to pick a lucky member from the audience here in a bit to do a BZ claw pull, and hope you, I think Thomas hit, it was like a $250 value on his BZ claw pull, Coffee with Captain earlier this week, and we're getting to run it back again today, courtesy of BZ. Coffee with Captain brought to you by BZ. We'll be dropping that here a little bit and picking someone from the YouTube chat to join us today. So if you want to get lucky and pull a grail from BZ today, make sure you're over there on YouTube. Hit the like and subscribe on the video, would be greatly appreciated. Busy news day. It's a Friday free-for-all, so open mic day, maybe a little bit of shenanigans, but a lot to get into, actually. I see Drew out there. Drew, I have not confirmed, but appreciate you joining us yesterday and helping us break down the drift exploit. I saw a couple of articles, posts on X that it does appear to be the Lazarus group, unfortunately. So it looks like North Korea was behind this drift exploit. I believe they were also behind the Bybit exploit. And yeah, unfortunate for many reasons, but stay safe out there. Know that there is protocol risk, and hopefully if you're a dev or a team listening in, double, triple check your OPSEC, including maybe let's have more than 2 out of 5 multi-sig signers. Have those, the slowdowns or the delays baked into any major moves like that. And obviously, I'm not the security expert, but 2 out of 5 seems like not minimum standard. So, anyways, I digress. We're going to focus mostly on good news today. After we got that one out of the way, not only good news with our Coffee with Captain Claw pool. We had a niche I'm gonna lead with this title. We'll swap it out a little bit, but niche tech podcast get acquired for over 100 million. That's TBPN. TBPN. Yes, got acquired by OpenAI yesterday. Wild. Congratulations. I'm not knocking it. I think it's incredible. I might be a little biased, but so a couple things. One, I know several of you have reached out and mentioned interest in clipping the show, clipping Coffee with Captain. We have been wanting to get our ducks in a row. Thanks to Payne, we have leveled up our Discord, kind of cleaned it up a little bit. And it's open, not open. It's open by invite. So if you're interested, we got a few invites we're going to be handing out. It's going to be a slow invite. We want to keep some control over it. I will say, like the war room, the main chat, that is going to remain gated. So those that hold the DGen pass, those are the only ones that have access to the war room. But the sports bar and another, secondary chat will be opening up to community members from Coffee with Captain. Invite only for now. We will likely be giving our members, those pass holders, invites as well if they'd like to bring in some friends. But on the clipping front, I believe, I don't know, I wasn't in the conversation, but I believe that clips are the main reason that TBPN got acquired for allegedly over $100 million. I don't know the exact number. It's not public, but they were on a run rate of about $30 million in revenue this year. So could, realistically, I mean, 100 million makes sense. And it's not like OpenAI is making small acquisitions. So I think that probably checks out. And while excited for them, excited for those of us content creators of the world, I'm not putting ourselves in their realm. They were, the top 1% of tech podcasts. So I say niche. I say niche because their live audience, quite frankly, isn't that much bigger than Coffee with Captain. What they do very well, though, is they had access to arguably the best guests in tech. Like anyone and everyone, for the most part, had come on their show as a guest. They are the host and the president were very dialed into VCs, to Silicon Valley, had went through YCOM, and had access to an A-list of not just, and I'm very grateful for all the special guests we've had, all of our founders and team leaders and truly subject matter experts in this space. The reality is, crypto Web3 founders don't hit quite as powerful as the Mark Cubans of the world, the Sam Altmans of the world. And while they aren't just an AI podcast, they really landed and we did a great job of interviews, but also had just an A tier, S tier list of guests. And so while their live show doesn't, I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. Like it gets in the thousands of views. There's a day there. Actually, I would say I think our biggest show in Q1 was when we had Adam from OpenAI on. That show did more than most TBPNs do on average. It's like our top show beats their average show in terms of live viewership. Now, where they win, and this is back to my point, is because they have such good guests, then their clips do mega numbers. Like their clips do crazy impressions. So I think why I'm sharing this, not just because I'm a content creator, I think this really is signaling, this is real signal in a couple of things. One, the power of X, the power of clips, because I believe a lot of their sponsor dollars and ultimately this acquisition was a result of not necessarily their live viewership, but who their viewers are. A lot of very powerful, influential, and high net worth individuals to tune into the show or see those clips, engage with those clips. And the many clips they've had have went mega viral, partially due to the guest, that people want to hear from the guest, but people aren't tuning into a just as not everyone can tune into a 2-hour live show at 8 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. Not everyone's tuning into a 3-hour live show in the afternoons. I don't exactly know what time they go off, but it's I think they're West Coast based and an afternoon 3-hour live show. But what really does make a numbers for them is their clips. So I think clipping is and this isn't new. I'm not the first person saying this, but is really taken off as a massive industry in itself and a great opportunity, not just for shows, but also up and coming content creators to have their kind of breakout moments. See Jack from Counterparty TV with Thread Guy, and a lot of his most viral posts aren't necessarily Thread Guy. Rather, he'll clip something from Mr. Beast, and that'll get millions of impressions on this app. So clipping is shown that is certainly a growth hack. Who your guests are, who your audience are. It's proving quality over quantity, which we take a lot of pride in. We've never botted our space. We're not trying to farm fake impressions or fake views or it's a real audience. And while not the biggest in the world, very grateful for the quality of our audience and the quality of our guests. And so I think not only does it show the power of clipping and how big that industry is becoming and the impact it can have on media brands, I think from an OpenAI standpoint, and I'm speculating here now, but TBPN killed their ad model while run rate of allegedly $30 million in revenue this year, decided to kill that at post-acquisition. I think it is also another signal that, and we've been saying this for a while, that any brands, especially big brands, need to be in the content game. And as opposed to OpenAI building out their own media arm, their own content arm in distribution, they decided to go acquire one that already had significant motion in the space. I think other brands may look to make similar moves now and acquire a media arm or build out their own homegrown media arm. I know I sit in a biased seat as this is, my livelihood, but there's a reason that I've continued to do this now for 1,131 consecutive days and turned down, respectfully declined jobs in this space that quite frankly would pay me more short-term income. I truly believe in, as our world moves forward, I'm betting not just on myself, but I'm betting on robots not replacing us. There is still, I believe, a desire for not just experiential retail, but human connection, even when it comes by way of live streams and even social audio here on X. So exciting day for all of us in the content creation world. Not quite as exciting as for the 11-person team at TBPN that just got acquired for north of 100 million, but exciting stuff there on that front, and hopefully more to come. Speaking of Coffee with Captain and the upcoming claw pull, we're going to be doing Thomas working on a clip for yesterday's show, not just because he's in it, but because the BZ Claw Pool. And speaking of that BZ Claw Pool, he got a 2022 Silver Tempest Rayquaza VMAX TG20 PSA 10. I'm saying it just to say it. And the Rayquaza added to my vernacular thanks to Coffee with Captain. Thomas, DM CryptoPain on X. I mentioned, so quick flyover before we get into all the news of the day. We will have a Coffee with Captain coming up. For those who want to participate, make sure you're over there in the YouTube streets. We'll pull a winner from our YouTube comments today. If you're able to come on stream, that'd be cool, but no obligations. We would probably pull you on for a few minutes during Coffee with Captain later if you can make it. So yeah, if you're wanting to get on stream today, maybe clip yourself. Head over to YouTube, hit that like, subscribe. And while we're on the topic, while I'm shilling likes and subscribes, it's a Friday, end of the week. That means tomorrow the newsletter comes out. Help us get acquired for as I joked this morning, we do about 1/5 of the live viewership at TBPN. So simple math, 1/5, 1/4. I think 1/4 on a good day. So call it 25 million. If we like you, we'll give you a deal. Call it 20 million. There's a number for everything. Help us get acquired for $20 million by growing our active newsletter subscriber base. When I say active, appreciate all of you who are subscribers. Like the open rates, the click-through rates, pretty incredible, and has went up significantly this year as we, again, doubling down on quality over quantity, remove some of the inactive, some people who might have checked out of the space, and really looking to serve up valuable content that's a good recap on the week. If you happen to miss any shows, all the links in there for the recordings, but also, our pool of the week, little tidbits, little nuggets, and hopefully it's something that you can find some value in. Every once in a while we'll do like a sponsor feature in there, but it's not. It's mostly a recap on the week, mostly headlines, mostly news, and it really does help us out tremendously. If we ever I have no crazy thoughts. I shouldn't even say crazy anymore, but not that $100 million exit is the goal. But if we were ever to have any sort of exit, it's not just going to be because of myself or Payne, but it'll be all the support and help we get from those of you in the audience and our email newsletter, but mostly those of you in the audience that make this a community-driven show and add value each and every day. Greatly appreciate all of you. Other news items, though, we will Coffee with Captain shares. We are those DGen tokens are going to. I kid. I'm not making any equity jokes because it'll be taken out of context. I'm not a financial advisor. Certainly not your financial advisor. Don't join for that. Just join for some fun, some information, and education along the way. And no promises of financial gain here, other than if you happen to be a participant in Coffee with Captain, you will get something of value there without a doubt. Might be a $20 swap. It might be a $10,000 grail. Not sure, but you will get to cash out those shares should you choose. Exit package for War Room mods. You got to talk to Payne about that. But yeah, there's that will be taken into consideration prior to accepting any offer to sell Coffee with Captain. We'll make sure that the Discord mods are taken care of. Other news. Yesterday was 402 day. Didn't realize 402 a day was going to become a thing until yesterday. But not only was it 402, at least here, U.S.-centric date standardized dating dates. I don't know what you call that, but the Payne, we do got to get Mayhem a label. He's going to crash out on us here soon if we don't get him updated. I think that Payne might be trolling Mayhem, but I'm not certain. The 402 day, we'll come back to that as we'll probably do a little more than a flyover. The agent related, on-chain related, the 402 Foundation was created yesterday, the X402 Foundation, Coinbase, many others. We had IMF, the International Monetary, I don't know what IMF stands for. I want to say fund, but that's not it. Maybe it is fund. IMF is the International Monetary Fund. It is fund. Okay, International Monetary Fund. They came out yesterday talking about basically the future of tokenization. Tokenization is reshaping regulated finance by moving assets to programmable ledgers, delivering efficiency gains, but requiring strong policy and trust anchors to protect stability. Read our new IMF note on the issue. Exciting stuff there. Also hearing that the might be hours away from the crypto market structure deal being finalized. Potentially get some word on that today. And then Coinbase getting approved for a national trust company charter. So not a bank, but getting, I don't know if anyone's deep or understanding like what exactly a national trust company charter means. Join us up on stage and you can help educate the audience a little better than me. Otherwise, if not, no worries. I will read some posts that explain it. But I want to be upfront. I'm not a banking expert, but I will. We'll have some content to share on that topic for sure. And then I thought I had one other nugget. I mean, we do have actually here in like 10 minutes non-farm payrolls dropping. Not sure what that'll mean. Not sure. I don't know if like CPI and non-farm payrolls. I don't know if this stuff really moves the market nearly as much during normal times. I think there's just so much uncertainty with the Iran conflict and geopolitical stuff that these other data drops that historically might move markets, I don't think they're having the same impact. That said, it's Good Friday. Happy Good Friday to all those who celebrate. I hope you enjoy. This is going to sound bad. I do know this, or at least I knew this. So Good Friday is when Lent ends. Is that right? So everyone who's been participating in Lent and not eating meat for the last 40 days, today you're able to feast, or is that tomorrow, or is that Easter Sunday? Help me. I grew up in a Christian home church. Family had some family that was Catholic, so I'm aware of Lent. I just wasn't a participator in Lent myself. So I'm not sure if that is how that works or not. But yeah, either way, happy Good Friday to all, and hope everyone, whether you celebrate Easter Sunday or not, I hope everyone's able to enjoy some family time this weekend. I know some schools are closed today, and we are making one of the family recipes Sunday. We're making my grandma's scallop potatoes, cheesy potatoes, some might call them. And excited. I truly, Joey, I'm getting connection issues. I'll try to add you once again. You might have to take a lap if it doesn't work. I am truly spoiled, like now on a daily basis, with incredible food. It's hard. It's not helping. I was going to attempt to cut for summer, started this whole 75 hard thing, and basically all I'm doing is offsetting the added calories I've been consuming. But that's okay. It is worth it because the food is absolutely incredible. No, I'm not even joking. Like every day, at least 2 meals a day of really, really good Venezuelan cooking. Even if it's non-Venezuelan food, my in-house chef is pretty incredible. Yes, windfall for DJ and pass holders. You are practically writing the writing room for the whole show now. It used to be Von Frunten was my copywriter. Now it's really the war room. It's funny because I have a whole daily show docket. Actually, I may show you this docket so you get an idea of everything that I have in my Notion here. Never before seen. I've never even shared this. Payne has access to almost all of my Notion, but this, just because I did something wrong when I linked the two accounts, my Claude Cowork, which goes and scans the internet and Twitter for all news nuggets. And then I make some notes, and then that populates into Notion. It's just a private Notion. So never before seen. I'm going to flash, if I can figure out how to do it, I'm going to flash the my daily show docket. But I will just disclaimer with, even though this is my docket, most of I've got Claude prepared bullet points and notes. I've got my own bullet points and notes. And then most days I end up talking, half the news we talk about is from the war room writing room, not instead of or in addition to the daily show docket. But here's just a quick glimpse for those curious of the daily show docket. We got Coffee with Captain coming, 402 day I just talked about, IMF tokenization, crypto market structure deal. We may talk about non-farm payrolls a little bit. That drops here in about 6 minutes. So you can see the consensus is expecting to add about 57,000 jobs, rebound, but still far below pre-2026 average of 180,000 a month. I'm surprised we're adding any jobs at this point, to be frank. If it beats, so say more than 75K, dollar strengthens, yield spikes, rate cuts, Bitcoin headwind, potential downward slide to 63 to 65K. If it misses, less than 30K or negative, rate cut window reopens, risk on signal, Bitcoin relief rally, 70, 75K possible. We'll hit on that a little more at 8:30. It even gives me here's I don't read this stuff. I really just get it for notes, but It does even give me, if I wanted to just rattle off scripts. The jobs number hits at 8:30 a.m. on Good Friday. Stock market is closed. Bond market is closed. Bitcoin is wide open. If you're not positioned before this print, you're watching someone else's trade play out live. Either direction this morning is one of the cleanest macro setups crypto has had all year. The numbers coming. Let's go. That's Claude voice, actually. We talked about OpenAI buying TBPN. AI giant just entered the daily live show business. Gives me anchor copy. And again, I don't read all this, but the links are what is helpful coming from Claude, more so than the hot takes. I usually skip over the macro geopolitical takes. Week in review, the most loaded week of Q2, a little too sensational for myself, but we'll hit on some of these highlights. And then weekend watch list, we talk this NFP number dropping in 5 minutes. I ran April 6th deadline, which was extended to April 16th. FTX payout flow watch, I think all those payments have now hit as of today. And then they're tracking the Drift protocol hacker, which, like I said, it appears to be, it even messes up because we don't have a Doma live read today, but that's Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Claude still not taking our producer jobs, although it does like to add docket prepared by Captain's producers, Coffee with Captain, 8 a.m. Eastern time. So Payne, Claude's coming for you. I kid. Joey, we'll get to you in a second. I had one other thought on that. When I read that, popped in my head and it ran out as fast as it came in. When I said docket prepared by Captain's producers, what else was I going to share related to that? Yeah, Claude says, I'm the captain now. Man, what was I going to share related to that? Well, Joey, help me out. I may think about it here in a second. I think you probably flew up, if I'm not mistaken, when I was bumbling through Lent. And is it the end of Lent? Is that how that works? Is Good Friday the last day of Lent, or is today the feast day?
GM Cat. First off, I want to commend you on your pronunciation of Rayquaza. That was incredible.
Look at this. Look at this. I get a BZ badge, and next thing you know, I'm pronouncing Rayquaza correctly.
You've come such a long way with your pronunciation of things. It's quite impressive. Probably the most impressive thing, not 1,131 shows, but your pronunciation of names. But yeah, so technically Lent ends on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
But today is Good Friday, which.
Oh, we lost Joey. Joey got rugged. Joey is going to buy an iPhone because he keeps getting rugged here. And don't worry, if you prefer my mispronunciation of Rayquaza, we've got a clip coming. Speaking of clips, CryptoPain grabbed the incorrect pronunciation of Rayquaza the first time I gave it a shot. This is really going to bug me, what I was going to share, because I thought it was definitely Claude related. Oh, I know what it was. Pretty wild. Like, good cold open material. Mayhem says, Joey, you need to clear your cache. I think he's on mobile. I think he's on his phone. I don't know if that would be, if he's on the X app on his phone. I don't know if clearing your cache even a thing. I've never done that for my X app. I've updated the X app frequently, but I've never cleared my cache in my browser, but I think pretty sure he's on mobile. Albeit an Android mobile. But what I was going to share, let me see if I can actually find my conversation, because it was kind of like that's pretty neat, and memory is really stepping up. How do I hide my other chats? There we go. So yesterday, well, I saw it yesterday. It actually came out a while ago, but I saw a post yesterday on X that it was a research study citing 20 grams of creatine could increase cognitive processing speed by almost 25%. Now, it was specifically the sample was specifically people who were sleep deprived, and I think had like only 3 or 4 hours of sleep the night before. So the specific claim was that it was a 24 study in scientific reports that subject who got a single 20-gram dose of creatine during 21 hours of sleep deprivation they would see a 24.5% improvement, and specifically in numeric processing speed at the first post-dose time point, about 3.5 hours after ingestion. So if you're curious, yes, I did get to bed a little later than normal last night, slightly sleep deprived. And so I did but I still got up and did, my 4 a.m. wake and went to the gym. And so I ingested I did go 20. Normally I only do like 5 to 10 grams of creatine. To test this theory, I upped it to 20 grams this morning, and I took that at, let's say, like 4:15. So I should now be in my 3.5 hours after ingestion. So you tell me, do I seem like I'm processing 24.5% faster this morning? I don't know. You tell me. I did read the Claude script a little better. Basically what happened, to tie it all together, the 20 grams of creatine this morning helped clear my cache and recover from my sleep deprivation from last night. Now, granted, I did get more than 3 to 4 hours of sleep last night, but not my full 7 as normal. So we're testing the theory live. But my point and what I wanted to share, what I thought was kind of like it's not like that important. It's not like world changing, but as I was reading so I just asked, I'll share this. I'll read it with you all in real time. I asked Claude, it cites, this research paper and others available, it cites 20 grams of creatine can increase cognitive processing by 24.5%. I've taken creatine for years, but lower dose of 5 to 10 grams daily. What else can you find on high doses? And what are the downsides or side effects to be aware of 20 grams of a daily 20 gram dose of creatine? Because to me, my first thought was like, man, that's going to be rough on the stomach. Every once in a while, even if I get 10 grams, I'll get a little nauseous. I don't have like gastric issues or because this is saying GI distress is the biggest practical issue when single doses exceed 10 grams. Unabsorbed creatine draws water into the intestines. Survey of athletes taking 17 to 20 grams a day found 24 to 30% experienced diarrhea or GI issues. Splitting into 5 gram doses helps significantly. So I disclaimer, if I happen to like sprint out of here today and then you end up getting a coffee break, not 1 minute and 22 seconds, but like it loops for 5 or 6 minutes, blame the creatine. I've never done that during the show. I'm pretty, not to be way too much information, but I'm a pretty normal, pretty fortunate individual when it comes to my GI. And so I've never had an issue where I've had to take anything other than a mobile stream drop here on the show. But if today I disappear for 5 or 6 minutes, blame the 20 grams of creatine. Here's what I wanted to point out though. Here's what was kind of like this is the whole chat. So new chat, just in chat, not in co-work, just a new chat in Claude. I ask it about 20 grams of creatine. What are the downsides? What are the side effects? And good information, good stuff. Talks about, water retention, stuff that I was aware of. It also, like from personal experience taking creatine when I was playing football, it can also lead to like Charlie horses can lead to cramps because of the impact in water retention and where it's retaining water, et cetera. Anyways, what blew me away was this. Caffeine combined with creatine may reduce its effectiveness, something to consider with your coffee with Captain routine. Now, I've never told Claude I drink a lot of coffee in the morning. It's just assuming that because it helps me prepare a coffee with Captain daily brief, that I must be consuming coffee during this coffee with Captain daily show. Anyways, again, I know it's silly. I know it's nothing really. It's not impactful, but it did link the Mayo Clinic's blog on creatine and caffeine. And I also, first time I ever heard this, that caffeine combined with creatine may reduce its effectiveness. I did not know that. So not only did I learn something new, but when it tied it together from Claude's memory that I host a daily show. And well, since the daily show is called Coffee with Captain, I'm probably consuming a fair amount of caffeine during said show. So anyway, again, I know it's silly. I know it's not much, but I don't think a year ago that ChatGPT or Claude is making that connection. I think the memory portion, and I know I'm not the first one saying this. I know this is actual real, but I think the memory, and not just the memory, but being able to tap into the memory and make assumptions like this, I think this is relatively new. And maybe it's a nothing burger, but for me, it was like it was kind of a profound moment for a silly little one-line throwaway like that did have a bit of information in it, but for it to be aware enough to connect dots that a daily show that it's helped me create a brief for called Coffee with Captain must mean I consume coffee during the morning on a daily basis. You should be aware of that when combining it with creatine, it can reduce its effectiveness. Anyways, I digress. I saw Andrew flew up here with a hand up. Andrew, thoughts on Claude or 20 grams of creatine to enhance processing speed by 24.5%? GM, sir.
GM, I was going to go through the actual topic of this of the space rather.
The headline, yeah, by all means. And congrats! I saw you had a recent cooker as well. 100K podcast, was that right? 100,000 impressions on a pod, an interview. Andrew, you're muted. We lost Andrew. X is giving us some challenges this morning. We lost Joey. We lost Andrew. We'll get them both back up here at some point. Dobbins does add the new memory model is nice. Notice its improvement. Like when I'm talking about supplements I'm taking, it remembers my dosage and where I'm at in the cycle and a new chat. Yes, that is, and I think that new chat is a big part of it. Like previously, there'd be things I was doing, like for instance, I get help on like best ball drafts, and I found it helpful if I continued the same chat because it seemed to remember more than if I started a new chat, and I didn't have to keep retelling it the same thing. Now, without asking it or without telling it, without even referencing anything else, it really does seem that its memory has expanded, and it taps into from any chat, and it taps into that memory without even having to be directed or told or asked. Andrew, I think. Oh, there we go. Let's take two with Andrew. I think we got you back now. Check one, check two. Andrew.
I think we're back, right, guys?
Hey, we're back. Yeah.
Good.
I don't know if you caught it, but I was
flowers. I heard that as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I was giving you some flowers. It was 100,000 views on a podcast recently or an interview, right?
Yeah, it was on X. It was impressions. I think we've done a couple, or maybe more than a couple. I think we did about 3 or 4 since the 2-year journey, 17-month journey. That we've done over 100, probably 100 plus on each, 3, 4 of them, which has been nice. Congrats on your success as well. Nice new badge, very on brand for this show. By the way, I'm sure Joey hooked it up as a good friend that he is, and all that good stuff. But I think the acquisition is very good news, obviously. I mean, we were kind of all right with the thesis a couple of years ago, like everyone kind of in the space, that like mainstream media, for the most part, when it comes to trust and some of those things, has been decreasing. Bad day to be CNN, I guess. Bad day to be at NBC to an extent. Good day to be a solo podcaster, solo group, whatever you want to call it.
Like, can we pause on that real quick?
Can
I just interject on that real quick? Like what? Yep. I keep cooking here. I do want to get your full take, but you say bad news, bad day for like CNN and the traditional mainstream media. I have to imagine if you're working, if you're an anchor for, and maybe CNN's the extreme example because they some of those are like high 6-7 figure paid salary type roles, but even some of them, I got to imagine as they see this news from couple of independent podcast that started 18 months ago, sells for $100 million plus to OpenAI. I got to imagine, like, part of the bad news for the and maybe this is what you meant, but the CNN's world is they're probably going to feel some pressure about losing talent, not just eyeballs, not just people tuning into mainstream media, but the talent has to be thinking it, especially the non-top tier. Like if you're an anchor, a news anchor somewhere, and you're making, I don't know, 60 grand a year, they're probably at least thinking about starting a side hustle, if not going all in on going independent. No?
Yeah, Kev, I think that's part of it. So like the way that some of these things work, and I got a couple of friends that work in traditional still, and like they're also very worried. And it's funny because I believe some news outlets, Fox, CNN, whatever, CBC, NBC, depending on where it is, BBC if you're in the UK, they have put podcast mics in front of like the hosts, which I find it kind of like fun that they did this, kind of almost a little bit of a masquerade. It's like, guys, the podcast mics and the way that the mics are situated in front of the host's mouth has nothing to do with the sequence and the way that the show runs. They're missing the entire fucking point. The entire point is that there is no narrative creation when it comes to solo podcasts, spaces, group podcasts, whatever it is, even single media folks. There's no preset narrative. Is you let the guests come on, you let them discuss, you let them talk, you let them discuss the current narrative. If they want to push one and it's ethical, they can do so as well. But there's no gotcha moments. There's no headline clipping culture that, fucks them over for views. There's no rage bait porn. There's none of that stuff. It's being honest. It's being intellectually honest. And I think it's one thing that the podcast, sector has done very well the past few years, is that they are honest with who comes on and how they come on for the most part. There's probably some, shitty stuff in the background, but most of it is kind of that way. But I think they're super worried. Talent obviously is changing. The way people are consuming media is also changing. I also think that like in a world of like short form content, I think long form is going to make a comeback, and you're already kind of seeing that as well. Quality long form, mind you, not like, obviously has to be quality to that extent. But I also think that most of the anchors, we don't really know these people. Like, we don't know how they act, how they behave, how they talk, what their family's like, what their friends are like, what their relationship is like. It's kind of a bit of a misty thing. But with some of the podcast folks and even spaces folks, we kind of know them more. So there's more of that interpersonal connection, despite them, being on TV or being on stream or being on YouTube, whatever it is, which makes it, I think, more appealing to the average person to actually, get to know them and stuff like that. And I think on a podcast, you can actually talk about your story, who you are, what your friends are, what your family's like, all those good things. So it makes you way more relatable than some of these news anchor hosts.
Is that it?
And some of them, to be honest, Cap, like they're very bland and almost like kind of like, if I had to paint their color on a canvas, it's a little bit gray. Like I don't really like, I'm almost a little bit wishy-washy, but I have my trusted sources that I listen to for news and all that stuff. And obviously you're one of them because we know each other.
Yeah, it's wild hearing you unpack it like that, because I feel the same way. Like I do feel connection with many of our regulars here. I also can acknowledge and recognize that it's likely more so the other direction. Like I'll be at Consensus next month, and almost inevitably someone's going to run up and give me a big hug and feel like we're friends, and we are. Don't take this the wrong way, but it's like I know nothing about them, and they know a lot about my life, right? And I think part of what you just unpacked there is there's a lot of extremely talented media personalities on work that works for mainstream publications, that works for CNN and et cetera. Very, very talented, better spoken than myself. And but I think part of that lack of a personal connection is that often they're like really buttoned up. Not saying they're scripted, but they're not able to go off sheet. They're not empowered to talk about. They're like a cold open that extends 30 minutes talking about their daughter's lacrosse game that they think no one cares about. Well, maybe, but I think people do care. And I'm not saying like you all care about my daughter's lacrosse. By the way, if you do care,
yeah, we care that you care. We care that you care. So now we care.
I think that matters. I think it builds, maybe subconsciously in some cases, it just builds a much deeper personal connection. And I think in today's world, that's becoming increasingly robotic and increasingly AI or artificial. I think those deep personal connections carry more meaning than ever before. And I think that's why we see things like this massive exit for TBPN and others to come is, and this isn't like new, like podcasts really probably had a big breakout moment last presidential election when you just started seeing a lot of like, it was like table stakes. Like you almost had to go the podcast circuit because that's where the audience not only was, but that's where you were able to get a deeper connection with the audience because of the relationships that they've built. And I almost said like one-way relationship where the audience feels like they're much more connected with the host or the the anchors than but I really do feel maybe it's different, but I do feel it's a two-way relationship. At least I'll speak for myself, and maybe it's different with social audio and spaces because we do get the audience engagement so often. But I think even those who don't have live social audio shows, they get it from the chat. Like you build a connection via YouTube chat or Twitch chat or any video chat, any chat that's during a live show that you don't have when you're behind a TV camera. And again, I'm not knocking those that have went that route. Times are changing. It's changing fast. And as we talk through this, Andrew, and I'll go right back to you here in a second, I almost wonder, not only is there might be a flight of talent for people that work for some of these large media companies to go do their own thing as independents, I wonder if we start seeing new formats from, like, could we see a CNN live show on Spaces? And CNN probably wouldn't go to Spaces just because of, it's Elon's app. But point being, like, we could see, instead of one of these shows losing some of their top talent, kind of leaning into this new model of relationship building by way of live shows in the chat and social audio. Like, I wonder if we see more of the large mainstream publications go this route and start adding live divisions where it is a little looser. They do empower their hosts to connect with the audience more, go on a little deeper of a cold open and share things like, yeah, my daughter's game got rained out last night, but they finished the best regular season ever in their girls lacrosse history. They won the division. They won the district. First time going undefeated in the district. She put up 18 points on the season. One of her teammates, the junior who's got a full ride at Oregon, led the district in goals and points and assists. Their goalie led the district in save percentage. Just a really great season and proud dad moment. And that's something that you're probably hardly ever, if never, going to hear a CNN news anchor talk about. And maybe some people don't care. Hey man, I just came here for the market update. I just want to talk about crypto. I just want to talk about the headline. Okay, we're going to talk about it, but over the course of these 2 hours, I'm going to weave in some personal nuggets because I care about it and it's my show. And if you just want the news, well, you can get there's a lot of other places you can get the news, but part of the enjoyment I get out of this is building those relationships with you all. And I don't have that opportunity to do it if I'm just buttoned up and the only thing I'm doing is reading the daily show docket that Claude spits out. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, the hosts with majority of these, to your point, like a lot of the conversation is very curated. So it's like you have a script, there's things you can say, things you can't say. The guests get briefed 10 times over of the questions that are coming. So it's a very kind of like inauthentic conversation that they're having. Mind you, there's probably some stuff that kind of happens out of the blue and spur of the moment, conversations and questions and all that stuff. But most of it is as a highly curated environment, and it kind of like comes off that way for the same reason that when someone's having fun in what they're doing, playing sports, talking about podcasts, doing media, tweeting, collecting, whatever it may be, your thing, when people can tell you're having fun, they have fun, watch you also have fun because that energy is transferable. Energy doesn't stay in one place. It converts. It always moves like energy. Same thing. And I think that's part of it as well. And Cap, most of these hosts, aside from Tucker, and there's been a couple of them, I think Tucker did it very well, which is still doing it. Most of them are not very likable, to be honest, because we don't really know them. Entitling likability means that we probably have to get to know somebody for at least a period of time. And obviously there's things you like about someone, there's things you don't like about them, but generally people are either very likable or not. And I think the guys at TBPN, like one of the best things about them is that these guys are very likable people. Like super likable, smiling behind the camera, having a good time, enjoying themselves, all those same things. And people really gravitate towards that kind of energy and like gravitate towards that kind of level of charisma. And I think some of it can be fake. And some of it has to be kind of innately, I think, established through experiences and all that stuff. But these guys are very likable folks. There's people that, Cap, you and I both know, very talented, super, super talented, very highly intelligent, pretty good EQ, but like they're just not likable people to kind of get behind. So because they're not naturally likable and some of that's teachable, some of it's not, they don't have a good crowd or a good community for that reason. And I think that these guys have done an outstanding job, obviously, the past 17 months, because it's not very long at all either. Like a lot of podcasts have been doing stuff for 5 years and don't really move. These guys have done not the impossible, but these guys have done the exceptional within 17, 18 months. And I think it's definitely marking a new milestone within media and formation. A lot of the VCs have also come out and said since this moment forward that they do have inside quote unquote media departments as well, because it's a great form of lead generation for the firm or the GP. But they also said that it's one way to touch, people that want to get invested, even from a consumer level instead of institutional, all that stuff. So people recognize that this is the future. But I think, like you said, talent's going to be at a high premium, and then likability is at the top of those skills for that talent. So,
yeah, great take. I agree. And yeah, again, they're just, I've never met them in person, but I've listened to the show, tuned in a few times, and yeah, very likable guys, very friendly. And you can just sense that same, and I got a lot of kudos on the timeline yesterday. Many others said the same thing, but you can also sense it, just like they are, just very likable personalities. I don't know how else to describe it. Jamber says, so like his folks watch the morning news and they speak as if they're friends. Little different here, as there can be back and forth between us and yourself, like the host. Like I know people like, oh, I'm friends with, they're going to talk about, Regis and Kathy Lee. I don't know. That's not the duo anymore. But you can tell how often I watch the actual TV. It feels that it's evolved. It feels that it's evolved in the ability to build those deeper, not just deeper relationships with the host. I think the other thing is, and I know like we're way out on the one end of the spectrum here with X Spaces and social audio, but it happens with, it happens with any of the podcast, any of the YouTube channels. Go to Mr. Beast, go to Rogan's chat, and you'll see the community communicating back and forth. You'll see the community starts grabbing clips and starts connecting with each other. Like, I think that part of this evolution in content and in personality of hosts and likability of speakers and hosts, I think that, your vibe attracts your tribe, so they speak. I think it has a lot, brings in similar like-minded individuals in the community. And then it's easier for community, easier for viewers, listeners to connect with each other by way of a live stream, by way of chat, than it is, oh, we all watch this show on CNN. We all watch this morning show on NBC. Where do they connect? Maybe there's like Facebook groups and stuff. I don't know. Like it's like if I'm a fan of SportsCenter back in the day, other than the water cooler, and happens to come up, how do I connect with other fans of SportsCenter? Like I don't know. Whereas if I'm a fan of TBPN, well, I connect with them right in the chat. It's very simple. Really, really interesting. Joey, I see we got you back up here. You can do a quick audio check. Does X seem to be working? Did you have to join us via desktop or did you get the phone working? Maybe he didn't make it back.
Hello?
There we go.
Hello?
Yep, we got you.
Wait, that's so weird. I didn't even request up on stage.
It knew you wanted
Did
to be
you
here.
add me?
Nope.
That's odd. I was literally in the bathroom in the other room listening to you guys.
Joey,
while I was, doing my contacts and get ready for the gym.
Joey just took 20 grams of creatine a little bit ago, and he is having those GI issues this morning. I kid.
That's really funny. I don't know how I ended up on stage. I'm at a loss.
What prompted you to come up the first time when X was failing you?
It's dead and gone now, the Len thing. But talking about, I don't know. You guys are talking about like podcasts and like connecting with people, and I don't really have much to add outside of I agree. I think the future of news and media is definitely like solo podcasts and things like that. I don't think CNN and Fox and all those ABC are what we're going to see in the future. And then regarding the creatine, I've never had a problem with creatine. I guess I have really good digestive system. It's never really done anything like that to me before. But peptides over creatine.
So Teacher Katie says, TMI, Joey. She also is laughing at me when I said Regis and Kathy Lee. I honestly can't even remember who the actual name. I know it was Regis was one of them. Regis and Kelly? Regis and...
Wait a minute. Hold on. I wasn't pooping. So I don't want people to think I was talking about me pooping. I was putting my contacts in. Cap assumed I was pooping because of the creatine conversation.
Pooping with peptides and Joey Bowles. Joey Bowles, that actually, Hizzy wins the chat today. Joey Bowles on Coffee with Captain. But Katie also did educate us that Lent ends on Easter. So it's not, Lent doesn't end on Good Friday. Lent ends on Easter. So one more Friday of fish for all those participating in Lent. I send you my best, and I'll be joining you. I'm having shrimp for lunch, so I will.
Wait, hold on. I have to jump in here. Lent ends on Thursday, April 2nd this year. Lent doesn't end on Easter. Lent ends on Thursday. Then you have the next 3 days of the Holy Triduum, which are Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and then Easter Sunday.
So,
like, Thursday ends the 40 days of your Lenten fast. So, like, most people continue it through Good Friday because it's Good Friday, a holy day, but it technically ends on Thursday.
we might need Pastor Riggs to come in with the official tiebreaker between Joey and Teacher Katie. I kid, but
it was from February 18th to April 2nd this year.
It was, for those that were curious, it was Regis and Kathy Lee came first. Then it was Regis and Kelly. Then came Kelly and Michael Strahan. So I actually, my Regis and Kathy Lee and Regis and Kelly, both comments were correct. Also, since the War Room is become the
we're just old, Cap. People don't remember that. Like Regis
is Regis still alive? Is he still alive? I honestly don't know. Regis Philbin, that was his name. I gotta Google it now.
No, he died.
He did die. Okay, yeah, he died in 2020. Oh my goodness, 6 years ago he died.
Welcome back.
Man, COVID really did numbers with my frame of reference for time. Since the War Room is co-writing the show now, we're crowdsourcing our writers. There was an egg conversation happening simultaneously this morning, and people talking about downing 5 or 6 eggs a day. Egg prices, while they've come down a little bit, I'm surprised we haven't seen a Trump take a victory lap on egg prices, but maybe he probably did. If you have a Detweilers in your area, this is real alpha, part of the cold open, the stuff that you won't find on a CNN anchor sharing with you unless they're paid to say it. This is not a paid shill, not a paid sponsorship, but Detweilers, I mentioned them on the show last week. They have really good meat. It's like a supermarket, but farm market. It's like farm market meets supermarket, and they're open 6 days a week. They're packed, and they have, kid you not, good grass-fed, cage-free eggs. 30 eggs for $5. Not making this up. It's like a flat of eggs. So where there's not even a lid, so you gotta be careful when you're walking out with it. I'm sure people have had some mishaps and you got 30 shattered eggs somewhere. But yeah, Detweilers is the egg alpha. If you're a big consumer of eggs like myself, and you have a Detweilers in your area, definitely hit up Detweilers for your eggs.
Well, Easy put a post up. I think it was at the beginning of the week, and he's like, because people were capping on him for him and Vo like having a little farm down there,
looking smart now.
And yeah, and he put out a thing showing the price of ground beef, and he's like, yeah, y'all, I think the post was something like, y'all thought a farm was funny now. And while he's not raising cattle, I don't think, but I mean, it goes to speak. I have tons of friends in my area that have tons of chickens. I mean, I just go to their house and they're handing me dozens and dozens of eggs. It's like, I haven't paid for eggs in probably over a year.
True story. I'm thinking how I could incorporate a chicken coop. I don't know if I can have a chicken coop. I have a, it's friendly. Like, I've never had any issues, but I have an HOA where I live now, and there's probably, I'm guessing, a no chicken policy. But yeah, now this is going to be my research after the show today. Is like, can I have chickens here? Can I get a free range group of chickens, just having them running around? I do have a pond, mini lake pond in the back that maybe there is maybe there's some duck eggs to be had. I don't know. Anyways, it is Friday free for all show.
Duck eggs are the alpha. Duck eggs are way better than chicken eggs.
Are they like consistency, taste similar? Like, what makes them better?
They're just higher in protein, higher in vitamins. They're just better. Like, if you look at, if you do a lot of research on like starting a homestead, people always say, "Oh, let's get chickens and cows," and the answer is actually rabbits, ducks, and goats.
Rabbits for the meat?
Yeah, rabbits for the meat, goats for the milk and the meat, and ducks for the eggs.
Interesting. Dobbin says that the alpha is finding a friend with chickens. That's what I really need. I don't want to take care of the chickens myself, but I also, by the way, if you're curious about this Lent conversation, heated debate happening in the war room right now. The war room is true to its name. We have a literal war occurring over the definition of Lent and when it actually comes to an end. We've got Riggs and Teacher Katie versus Joey, and maybe one of the most heated debates we've had in a while. It's we are disagreeing without being disagreeable when it comes to religious events and holidays this morning. I digress. It is a Friday. It's a free for all. Did not know we'd be talking about Lent and eggs this morning, but it all somehow ties together. And yes, the luxury boutique hotel that will be opening in Costa Rica, it will absolutely have free range chickens running around and many others. And I threw this out last week on the show that I'm in the market for, I think, an investment property in the Boca Raton area. My daughter's going to FAU. So some point over the next year, I would like to look at adding property to my portfolio down there. My business partner and I are in the process of adding another property in Columbus, Ohio. And if all goes well there, we'd look to roll it forward into another one in the Boca area. After I said that on the show,
obviously, if you need help on this side of the state looking for something, let me know, because I can visit some properties for you, and I have a lot of friends who do real estate in Boca.
I appreciate it, and I greatly appreciate it. After I said it on the show, I kid you not, someone reached out via the DMs, also in that market, been considering picking up a rental property, and I think we're gonna attempt to meet up during Consensus Miami, and might look to take down a property together over there. And so I say all that because that's going to be my shill. If anyone wants to help me speed run the luxury boutique hotel concept in Costa Rica, I don't have a deck yet, but I can pull one together pretty quickly if you're interested. The only requirement is we have free range chickens running around for our eggs. But all that being said, pointing it all back together, thinking how I can pivot back from eggs and chicken and boutique hotels and property around FAU's campus back to new media, TBPN, and or all these other news items that at some point we have to hit on today. Andrew, I really appreciate you joining us. Jesus, being a media personality yourself, any thoughts on the earlier conversation regarding TBPN or new media, the relationship building, the opportunities it presents, and or any of those other topics you want to dive into, just to give you all a fly back over 402 day IMF tokenization, the crypto market structure, that deal is seemingly imminent. And then Coinbase getting approved for that national trust company charter. We did get some wiser friends in the chat sharing that a charter can't take deposits like a bank does. This is Meshmesh. Thank you, Meshmesh. The focus is more on wealth management and estates, but his guess is that this is the compromise that they came to because the banks are scared of competition of losing deposits. So that would make sense. So it's like, it's not a bank per se, but it enables some, levels them up and adds more, I guess, credibility. I think good for institutional stuff. And I've got some other posts we'll share. But before we go to those others, Jesus, any thoughts on new media or anything else we've hit on this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Andrew, like 1,000,000%. Like the organic conversations bring people back. I've had many guests and founders and teams try and send me like a script of questions to ask when I'm hosting their team, and I'm like, no, I don't do that. It's like we ask you just straight up questions. It's organic conversation because you can hear it. And a lot of teams will come on, and the representative that comes on a space, they sound like a fucking robot. And it's like, this is the shittiest, and I have the worst time with it. And I learned that early on. And now if they don't like it, they just don't come on my space, or they don't, they won't come on the stream or whatever. Because I like the spontaneous conversation and seeing where things flow. And I think people can buy into whatever you're selling if you have an organic conversation, rather than, some scripted crap. And it creates way better content. I remember the first time I had Luca on my spaces, and this was probably 3 years ago. And he DM'd me and told me, he's like, bro, I talked about some things I have never talked about on your space before. I had messages from people from the team, the community, saying how good of a space it was. And like that right there made me realize it's like, just have casual conversation and be who you are. And I think you're going to get some really good content out of that. Sometimes it gets unhinged, but yeah, I agree with Andrew there.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point too regarding guests. I'm not just saying it because you're all up here, but truly grateful for the guest speakers that pop up often, that you all help make the show. Very fortunate. And I guess you could say that, like, I guess people who aren't comfortable probably are less likely to request up and join a conversation impromptu. But yeah, there's some special guests that can be challenging at times. And we've shared here before, like how we're selected with sponsorship deals we agree to. I alluded to recently, we kind of walked from one that was, we didn't think it'd be, long story short, they wanted multiple interviews, and we pushed back hard. We'll like happy to do something with you. We're going to limit it at one. We don't want to just be repetition, and would be not great for the audience. We want people checking out, and paying breakfast.
And they don't have that much shit to talk about where they need multiple interviews.
And
okay,
if they're not good personalities, like it's even worse, right? Like one interview can be a challenge if they're not, if to your point, and hey, if someone wants scripted, hey, we want to make sure you ask us these 5 questions. That's cool. That's very different than here's the only thing you can talk about. Like,
yeah,
I don't say I would never do that, but it's just not our show. If someone says, here's the 5 questions we want you to ask our founder, and you can't go off sheet, we may not be the show for you. Like, whether
I have a primer that I send guests, and it tells them exactly what needs to be done for the space. And it tells them, make sure you're in a quiet area, make sure you have great, stable internet connection, all your tech's working. It shows them how to come on stream and in the spaces. And it kind of gives them a hint of what we could possibly talk about, but the flow of the show, because some people have never been there before. So it's just a primer to get them ready. And I've had guests say, hey, can you make sure we touch on these few things? Because these are like important CTAs. So I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, beyond going into much depth, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, no. And that makes sense. And that's probably helpful, appreciated, I'm guessing, as well by the guests. And I just, I think we're just going to continue to see this shift towards more and more, I don't want to say truthful or honest, because that's not fair to mainstream media, but authentic, I think is the word I was looking for there. I think authentic conversations and in less script, I think is where we're heading. Andrew, go ahead and get back in here. And then I did see the non-farm payrolls more than expected, rose 178,000 in March, unemployment at 4.3%. That was a big reversal from the 133,000 decline in February, and much better than the Dow Jones consensus estimate, which was 59K. So I don't know what it means. Market's not, at least Bitcoin anyway, is not it's basically flat, maybe a little bit of dip on the news, but nothing noteworthy. Go ahead, Andrew.
Last thing I'll say on the topic, and Kev, I appreciate the air and the mic, is that I think there's a fine line to walk if you're hosting a space or a pod or doing a live stream with guests. I think there's portion of the conversation where, like, the founder or the person on the other side, the person getting interviewed, probably talks about the product and what they're doing and all that stuff. But I think if it's kind of the main discourse, it gets a little bit boring, only because that information can be found on the internet, on other podcasts, on AI, on this, that, the third, whatever it may be. So I think having that part of the conversation is important. But I think making it be the entire shtick, I think, is a little bit where kind of most people fall off. I'll give you an example. I had Cash on this week. You'll probably see that in the next couple of weeks. Cash from Jupe, one of the co-founders. And he said that out of all the podcasts he's done for context, he's done 100 plus. He said that quote unquote yours was one of the best, if not the best. I asked him why he said that. He's like, well, because we talked about Jupe for maybe 10% of the time, and everything else you were picking my brain about AI, content creation, creator economy, all the things he's working on, payments and all the other stuff when it comes to at a macro versus the micro of it. And I think that makes more so the interview. So you're actually getting the guest's thoughts on things about like not his product or her products. And think about it, when the guest comes on, they're probably so much in the weeds of their own product and their own thing that it's like they're so used to talking about it that to do it on another podcast after getting out of 10 meetings about it on the day is a little bit redundant and repetitive. And they may get some sort of fatigue with their own stuff only because they're spending all day in it. It becomes a little bit of a relaxed session if you get them on and have more philosophical, theoretical, or even practical conversations on stuff away from their business, away from their life. I think it helps them, but it also makes the show more interesting because there's stuff that like I can get his take on that I wouldn't have heard before if I didn't ask him this question. Whereas like the conversation, the questions around his own product, I can probably search it on Grok and get API access, all that stuff. So easier to do.
I'm nodding the whole time because yeah, I agree with everything you said there. And especially just to double tap on, as AI just becomes more and more prevalent, if I just want the bullet points, I don't need to listen to an hour-long interview with you. I can just ask Claude, and it's out there. I think like having different talking points, having that some sort of personal connection and pulling on those strings too. I see Steve out there, something I stole from Steve, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this because it kind of his secret sauce, a great interviewer in his own right. One of his things he would ask anytime we had a guest on for interview, a stated goal of his, he wanted to ask them one question that they'd never been asked before. And that came well before Coffee with Captain. I mean, he's a, PR communications media professional, dating all the way back to his days in Yakima, Washington, on the news channel. But that one simple thing, like ask them a question that they've never been asked before, you're not going to get there if you're just sticking to scripts or just sticking to what they want to talk about. And most of these people, when they go on media tours, when they're doing interviews, it's a media tour. Like you might be the first one, but you're probably the first of a dozen interviews they're going to do, or maybe you're the 10th of 12 interviews they're going to do. And most people are going to ask the same questions, which, oh, by the way, you could go ask Claude or ChatGPT, tell me about so-and-so and tell me about TPN in this acquisition. And it's going to tell you all the facts. It's going to list off the data points that came from all those other interviews. And so while I think a lot of people are going to go to ChatGPT and Claude and all these and Grok and all these LLMs for news and updates and data, I think what it lacks and where it is becoming increasingly valuable is those personal connections, are those questions that they're not part of the script. They may have nothing to do with the product they're building or the brand they're scaling, but rather pulling on something, getting a take that's relevant, but not the talking points. Does that make sense, Andrew?
It does, yeah, it does. And I think that's kind of the key. And by the way, that stuff that's not product based, where you can get that information literally by 2-3 seconds, like you said, that stuff, if you clip it, is way more juicy. And if you get the guests thinking in real time, it's a bonus. I'll give you an example, Cap. We have a couple KPIs that like we don't share publicly, but like I look to as a host. One of them that I'll share is like when the guest starts asking me questions back, I know they're fucking in tuned, and I know that they're having a good time.
Yep. That's a great. That's actually a great KPI. I might steal that one as well, just as I stole the question from Steve. Let's ask him.
I have a question for you. How hard was it? Because Steve got a job at OpenAI, great job, and you guys did. You did this show over 1,000 times together, and then like for you to sit there, that had to be like, well, shit, what am I going to do? Am I going to go solo, or am I going to keep going, or am I just going to fold up shop? Like, because anybody on us three on the stage know, like running a daily spaces or podcast, whatever, it takes a lot of work, and it's like now you just lost your right arm.
Yep.
So like what was that decision process like of like, do I keep doing this thing or
so
like, what was your mindset there? Because it had to cross your mind.
Great question. I also, before I answer, I have to ask you back, are you just playing the game here? Are you just asking the host a question because Andrew just mentioned that's a key KPI, that when a guest asks the question, that's a +1.
Well, I had another question for Andrew, but anyway, no, I was going to mess with him back, but I'm looking at Steve sitting on my screen right next to Andrew on my screen. So it's just, I mean, like, that would, for me, if my two co-hosts left, I would be like, how would I pivot?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you don't run your space for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, you run it for multiple hours and without people coming on stage. And that's a lot of stuff to do on your own for 2 hours and talk and bring good quality content. So
yeah, great question.
You know, it's tough.
Great question. First of all, I like ending the show or not continuing on was never an option. Didn't cross my mind. It also, how Steve did it wasn't like, while it, I'm trying to think what I can, he didn't like rug me. It wasn't like Monday he said, hey, I'm off the show, I'm never coming back. It was something, it was a process that it was a journey. And so I was able to think about it before, I guess I was able to think that knew it was a potential outcome before it became the outcome. So I was able to put some conscious thought to it before I just got the news or was aware of the decision. And first of all, I was really happy for him. I mean, awesome gig, happy for not only him, but happy for the space at large. I mean, if you've tuned into half of these shows, you've heard us, I'm certain you've heard us talk about how crypto and Web3 native brands have one of the biggest myths is their lack of focus and importance on bringing on leaders in comms and marketing roles. Comms, PR, marketing, it's often an afterthought, or they'll throw $250,000 at an intern to shit post on Twitter, and not saying that can't drive awareness, but a shit poster on Twitter is not a comms and marketing strategy. It's maybe a part of a comms and marketing strategy, but it's not the end all be all. And so for as excited as I was for Steve, I was also excited for OpenSea. I was also excited for the crypto space because I'm hopeful, and maybe it's just the perma bull in me or the optimist in me that thinks that, you know, no pressure, Steve, but I do believe like it can have a positive ripple effect throughout the industry. It was shortly after that OpenSea hired Steve that Coinbase started looking for a similar person as well, as, you know, similar role anyways, and more of that. To answer the question on like what went through my mind or the process is quickly realized that Steve was much more than just a co-host. While we're live for 2 hours, I didn't like for a live read and all that stuff. He would do the prep. He took that on, and so I never really had to think about it, whether it was the more you know or, you know, coffee with Captain, any of that stuff. He did all the behind the scenes work on the live reads and majority, if not all, of like the, you know, any sort of deliverables we had for sponsors. But beyond that, Steve and I had such just natural chemistry, and we're so like-minded, but yet didn't agree on everything, that it just set up a just very natural back and forth. It set up a natural 2-hour conversation where if we hosted 950 shows together, it was really like, truly, it was like having, you know, sitting down at a cafe and having coffee with a friend for a couple hours, and we just hit the record button. Like, so in that part, I knew I could, well, I didn't think I could replace that. Not only would it be big shoes for another ongoing co-host to fill, I felt I would have been a little naive to think I could just backfill Steve and have that natural chemistry with some other person. Not saying I couldn't get there at some point, but it would have been, I feel, a noticeable difference. And so chose the route of not looking to backfill a co-host, but yet, and the other thing we kind of both of us recognized when one of us was on vacation or out, or it often led to more community interaction. When it was just one of us, it often led to more audience participation, more people like yourself and Andrew. And I mean, you're a perfect example. She's like, you've been on the show with both Steve and I, you've been on the show with just Steve before. But I think you're a perfect example where, since I've just been solo hosting for the most part, grateful for Outer joining us on Tuesdays. And that's something else we looked at, is like, maybe we'll do one day a week and think through that. But it's since I've just been solo hosting, you've been on the show a lot more than you were previously. I would say probably you've been on the show more this year in Q1 than you were the 1,000 shows combined prior. Is that a fair statement, you think?
Yeah, 100%.
And so that was part of the decision, is like, let's lead to a more interactive, more audience participatory show. And I think, as I reflect now in the last few months, that's happened.
Well, it goes back to Andrew's point of organic content.
Yep.
And not like, oh, Steve's gone, let me fill this role, and here's our new co-host, everyone. And it's like, it goes with the flow,
Yep. Thomas adds, when the conversation turns into a normal discussion between two people who have never talked before, turn it into a connection, like they've been best friends for a year. Those are the best ones. It's helped me level up as a host, having to go solo, because I don't have someone else I can lean on. I don't have, like, coming into every show, I don't know if Andrew's going to jump up. I don't know if Joey's going to jump up. I don't know if Cheese is going to jump up. I don't know if I'm going to have someone else to riff off of. And so my went from like zero prep with Steve, because I know we could literally just riff for 2 hours, to I now have a daily show docket every day. Some days I'll cover everything on it because there's just for whatever reason, there's not as much audience participation. Other days I might hit on 0 to 1 of the items on the daily show docket because the conversation just takes us elsewhere, and we lean into that. So I keep that flexibility, but it has forced me to level up as a host, do more prep work, and be consciously thinking. Like, it's, candidly speaking, there's days where it is more work, because I'm when I say I'm grateful for the audience participation, truly grateful. Like, it is going 2 hours solo. It doesn't happen often, but there's been a few shows where, yesterday, I think Drew might've been the only one who popped up yesterday. And grateful for Drew, and he helped bring some light to that drift exploit and expertise that I don't have, and greatly appreciate him sharing. Not just that he came up and shared, but two solid hours of even if I cover every item in a show docket, it's long. It's a lot. So having others to bounce off of is beneficial. But I don't know if I've answered your question directly or not, Jesus, but does that give you a little bit of glimpse into my brain in the process?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because we've had one co-host think about, like, kind of stepping back a little bit more, and so it changes the flow of things, and we've been doing it together for over 4 years. So yeah, it's a big deal. So again, yeah, I love it. I'm here for it.
Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone being here. Appreciate all the support. Quick reset. I did mention those non-farm payrolls. I'll share the headline. I did mention it was up 178,000 in March, more than expected. We shared before the numbers dropped that the consensus was going to be up 59,000. So over 100,000, almost 120,000 above expectation. Unemployment rate edged lower to 4.3, though that was largely a sharp reduction in labor force. Wages also rose less than expected, with average hourly earnings up just 0.2% on the month and 3.5% from a year ago. The annual increase was the lowest since May of 2021. As has been the case, healthcare was responsible for much of the growth, with the sector adding 76,000 jobs. I'm still a little shocked that we're seeing jobs being added when you have, Oracle just laid off 30,000 of their employees with the single 6 a.m. email the other day. And I think more and more of these tech companies, and in some cases it's legitimate. In some cases there is real bloat, or they've become more efficient thanks to AI. I think in other cases it's an easy excuse for them. It's an easy out. It's easy for them to use AI as the reason they're having to do layoffs, when in some cases I think it's rather they overhired during COVID, or they've always had bloat and now they have some outs. We just related to this conversation though. I was trying to think, I should have took notes yesterday when I was watching, because I don't remember exactly what he said, but this whole idea of asking a question that someone's never been asked before and trying to tap into something that you couldn't find just in Claude or ChatGPT. I did, and point it back to the IB or TBPN. I listened to the show yesterday. I don't know if I caught the whole thing, but I caught the majority of it. And one of one of the guests they had on was the CEO of Wonder Foods. Maybe it's just called Wonder. Mark Lohr is who the guest was. He's the founder chairman of Wonder Group, which is a revolutionary fast fine food hall and delivery concept valued at over $7 billion. Serial entrepreneur and former president, CEO of Walmart US e-commerce. I believe he founded Jet maybe, and then Walmart acquired Jet, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I should have done more research on that. Well, that wasn't where I was going to go. He was also, so he did. He founded Jet.com, which sold to Walmart for $3.3 billion. Ian Quincy, the parent of Diapers.com, which sold to Amazon. So serial entrepreneur, has had tremendous success. He had multiple exits, and I assume, billionaire himself at this point. But I wasn't familiar with Wonder. Yesterday was the first time I'd heard about it. And some of his comments were, I don't think comments or questions. Now I'm going to have to go back and replay it to wonder to understand what exactly the question was that prompted his answers. But it got me down the rabbit hole. It got me checking out Wonder. It got me checking out Mark Lohr a little bit. Wonder is kind of like, think of new franchising meets automation meets robotics. Think of like franchising meets new age franchising, but not for the brand, for the infrastructure. And they're going to be launching something later this year where for $10 a month, you can tap into their system and essentially launch a restaurant in the markets that they operate in. Whatever you want. You can put an AI prompt, hey, create a healthy bowl restaurant targeted for millennials or targeted for Zoomers. And it'll help create the brand. It'll help create the logo. It'll help create the menus and the ingredient. And so they have basically their concept that they have these basically like ghost kitchens, but they are leveraging AI and robotics and really working to like automate the process to where, they'll have like a 2,500 foot facility and they'll project to do 20 million in sales, annual sales out of a small box facility. But it's not a restaurant where you're going to go pick up your food. It's the hub. It is the distribution point where they're going to make food, they're going to ship food, and they'll help. Again, their system would help you tap into, Uber Eats and DoorDash and all the delivery systems to where someone goes on there and, a Zoomer searches for healthy bowl options and they see your brand that looks like a really buttoned up, really professional brand that you created yesterday, and you're paying $10 a month for the setup to tap into the infrastructure of Wonder. Again, could I have found all that information out by asking Claude or ChatGPT? Sure, I could have. But there was a few other comments that Mark made that I doubt I would have got. And I think it comes back to that authentic conversation, genuine connection, and not just some scripted, hey, here's here's the 7 interview questions we want you to ask. We will hit on IMF tokenization. We will hit on crypto market structure deal, although, and the 402 day from Coinbase and their national trusted charter. Although most of those headlines, unless anyone really wants to dive deep, probably more like flyover headlines. So while I don't know if Jesus has an out here, but by the way, I did post Andrew's post up top talking about their 100K impressions. Go give that some love. Go check out Andrew's show and that recent interview if you haven't done so yet. Jesus also hosts a show at 11 a.m. Eastern here on X in Abstract. Go hit that reminder. Go give Jesus and friends some love and support on that one. I did have an abstract question for you. I'm not going to ask how many XP you got. I do know it was far more than the 36 or 30. I went 32, 57, 36. I think is my last 3 weeks. So clearly not rewarding the streamers over there. I had actually been upvoting and doing a little more transaction volume, but I'm not gonna force farm it. So I'm happy for you and anyone else that's printing on Abstract XP. But more so than Abstract XP, I'm curious if you have a take on, and if you don't mind, I asked you this question, I'm gonna run and refill my coffee. So if you finish your thought, feel free to continue on. But I'm curious if you had a take on Fugs, one of the abstract NFT communities and collections. I saw that they announced I don't think it was an April Fool's joke, they actually are leaving Abstract and going to mainnet. Is that right?
Yeah, so we had we had a space yesterday. We had a lot of founders on there, Bearish founders, and Yacht actually came on the space, and he's the founder of Fugs. And yeah, the the abstract community, I would say, is just very passionate. You have the homers who believe abstract chain can do no wrong. You have the ones that think abstract is messing up every single week, and you have the Fugs community who's passionate about their IP and their founders. So when you have all those three, those different dynamics, and there's other groups kind of combating one another, to me, I don't know what they're going to do on ETH mainnet. And I brought this up to Yacht that you're not going to do on abstract. I think it's a harder market, even though, yes, ETH mainnet is the mother chain of NFTs, is what everybody says. To me, it's up to the founders and the team to determine the outcome and success of their project. And if they think that's a good, a better way to get liquidity than abstract, then go right ahead. I mean, I support any founder that's actively building, that's present on the timeline. Yacht is one of those founders. What they have planned when they go to ETH mainnet, I have the slightest clue. I go ahead.
Well, Zane, it's funny because I was going to go to the exact same spot. Zane in the comments says ETH mainnet better than abstract all day. Best move GVC made. I vividly remember GVC was going to launch on abstract, and seeing the success they've had over the past year plus, well over 7 figures of royalties. I don't want to say there's no chance that happens on abstract, but I would be shocked if they would have had that sort of success had they launched on abstract. And I have to imagine they're, in hindsight, very grateful they made that move when they did. I'm sure, I don't think it's going to be, it's also more than just the chain, right? Like, you got to give Good Vibes Club credit, great art, great team. They've crushed it on many things they've done.
They also gave out a shit ton of honoraries to the right people that were tweeting. They timed the market perfectly.
Yep. So
I don't think it would have mattered what chain, because Chris and the team are just goated. So I don't think it would have mattered whether or not. I think if the product is good enough, liquidity will find it. If the team's good enough, liquidity will find the product. Like,
I agree, but I also think there's somewhat of a ceiling. Like, I think they would have had success. I don't know if it would have been to the same levels. I also think, like, makes sense for maybe Fugs to move. I don't know as if it's going, like, I don't expect them to just all of a sudden they're going to, fly up to 0.5 ETH or 1 ETH because they moved to mainnet. There's a lot more than just what chain you're on that leads to success here. And I also saw the bearish team doubling down on abstract.
Yeah,
so
100%.
There's, I think, pros and cons. My question though is, like, with the recent abstract moves and what they've announced, and we're really looking to drive transactions, and so if you're not building mobile games or mini games, excuse me, if you're not doing something in your NFT brand that is going to drive what abstract is looking for, I think it probably is best they look at I think there may be more reasons to go mainnet than to remain on abstract or to go to abstract, unless you're building in something that is what abstract is looking for. For instance, Bearish is doing these mini games from the brackets to other stuff and kind of checking those KPIs that abstract is looking for. Therefore, I think they're likely to continue to get support from the team and get the XP bonuses and stuff.
Trust me, Bearish doesn't get everything. I'm in DMs and conversations with Scotty and Tully often, and they don't get the recognition that I would say that one would expect. Like, Bearish wasn't number one on the NFT bonus. Bearish doesn't have a badge yet. So there's a lot of things that that people look at it. I hear favoritism, this and that. Like, Base went through the same exact stuff. There was fuddy stuff. There was crap on the chain, so, and it's just growing pains. And in my mind, Luca's name is on abstract. He's not going to allow it to fail. He's going to do everything in his power to not let it fail. Let me put it that way. So, and I said this yesterday on my space, a good leader knows how to put other good leaders in positions to make something successful. And he has Saigar over there is in charge. You have Michael, you have Jared, you have a lot of good builders. That the Discord itself has a lot of good leaders in there. Abschud, even though he got a lot of shit from a few weeks ago, and you have a very strong core team that's helping push the brand.
And And so I think with that comes pros and cons. I think a good team, I think Luca and a team behind you can help, but it also, to some of the other the counters in the chat, it also adds friction. It's like, if you're going to play the game that Abstract wants you to play, if you're going to drive what's important to them and you're going to get the support from the team, I could see it being beneficial. If you're not going to play that game, if you're not getting the support from the team, then it can be a, I don't want to say a negative, but it could be a drawback. Our GVC, our local GVC whale, he does say respectfully, Jesus is wrong on this one. So many high-end art collectors that minted and swept Good Vibes Club would not have done so if they weren't on an L1. This is a fact. The provenance is huge for these types of collectors. No offense to be bearish or others on Abstract, but they don't have those type of holders. I don't think it's a bearish take on Abstract. I don't know as if any other chain has those holders. I think I think that's very mainnet specific. Not only L2s, I don't think Solana has those type of holders. Now, I'm sure there's good collectors on Solana, and a lot of those same holders also collect on Solana, but specifically big collectors that provenance matters, that have a big NFT collection. I think the majority of those individuals that are going to collect, they're going to sweep something and hold for long term, they're going to pay 10 ETH for a one-of-one. I think most of those collectors are on ETH mainnet. And while some might say, ETH, Vitalik, and they haven't done anything for NFTs, or they've done very little. They're not supporting your NFT collection. True, ETH Foundation is not going to pump your bags like Abstract might,
unless it's a milady.
True,
unless he does that. So here's my point, though. Is like, I see the people like that are grave dancing, and they're like, "Oh, Abstract is going down," and like that kind of mindset in this space is so toxic. And when I see people like that, I don't care if they're following me or not, if we're friends, I just mute them and I move past it, because it's like Ethereum has its place, L1 has its place. Abstract is, in my mind, the strongest L2 community out there. Right, I would say right next to Ape Chain. And like, there's not many successful brands that last in this space. And if we sit here and have these, rage bait tweets out here all the time, and people, I've seen different holders that were putting videos up of them weething their bugs yesterday. And it's like, all that crap's not needed. Like, if you want to sell, go sell. Like, no need to boast about it or brag about, one thing or the other. It's like, what they're trying to do on Abstract is very ambitious, and it's different than the collecting culture on mainnet. Abstract is a lot of mini games. Abstract is just coming straight out and telling you what KPIs they need. You don't think Binance sit there and farms and milks hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions to get higher transactions and pump their chain up to make it look like they're successful right now? And Base does the same thing. So like, it's not, if you've been in the space long enough, everyone does it.
Yep.
Abstract's trying to create opportunities for people to make some money and also boost chain metrics at the same time. It's whether you want to play the game or not.
I agree. I also would double tap on both Abstract and Ape Chain still have arguably the two strongest quote unquote NFT driven communities, and in the sense of, depending on what you're building, if you're building something game based that would make sense to have a 3D rendering another side, it would make a lot of sense to go to Ape Chain. You're going to get the support from the team. You're going to get support there and opportunities that wouldn't exist on mainnet. Just like if you're building a mini game that's going to have a lot of transactions, you're much more likely to get support on Abstract than you would on mainnet. That said, if you're building an art collection, I don't know why you would drop on any L2 right now, or Solana for that matter. I think you'd be far better off to have your high-end art on ETH mainnet. So I think
Yeah.
what you're building is important to deciding on where you go and what chain you launch on, and where does it align beyond, oh, I'm going to get some blast gold to go launch here. What else beyond XP or blast gold or any sort of incentivized or funding? What else is there? Because that will dry up at some point. The whether pre-TG or post-TG, the extra funding will dry up. So then, does it make sense if there is no extra funding, if there is no extra incentive? Does it make sense to be? And sometimes that incentive is enough. Sometimes getting out of the starting gates is challenging. It's really important, and that pre-TGE environment can help. It can help you get out of the gates.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of what you're looking for in your brand. So to his point, yeah, collectors collect on ETH mainnet. Games and mini games and things like that are coming to abstract. That's what they want. They want consumer games. They want consumer products that eventually, when, and everybody's been saying this for years, oh, when the masses come, like, I hate that, but they will attract more and more people with major partnerships like they've done with Red Bull, and several other countless brands. But then you look at one of the largest art collectors in the space, Seed Phrase, buys Wolf Game, and he brings Wolf Game to abstract. How well the game's doing and all this and that, I have the slightest clue. I'm not involved in the game. I don't play it. But regardless, you have one of the largest, ETH collectors of art, and is the number one rarest CryptoPunk. And he decided, because he knows Luca and whatever back-end conversations, that he's like, I'm buying Wolf Game and I'm bringing it to abstract. He didn't bring it to base. Does he regret that? I have the slightest clue. Maybe he does move it again. But there's something there with abstract. And I do know a lot of the team, and I know they are working very hard to make sure brands can have the most success possible. So I would just say people that haven't been on abstract, take a look at some of the brands like, On-Chain Heroes and Bearish, Ryui. There's a lot of teams that are working really hard to try and bring good, usable products into Web3. And they're just shitting on it because of their bias, because they're either ape chain maxis or base maxis or ETH maxis or whatever. You got to open yourself up a little bit here.
I agree. I also think that Fug's leaving could be bullish for the other collections. You got one less, quote unquote, leading NFT community that's taking some mind share from the others. Like at the end of the day, there's only 100% mind share. So if you've got 20 viable collections, now you've got one less. And it could be, I'm not saying they all rotate into Bearish or all rotate into one singular collection, but I think the others could not only pick up some extra users and active participants, but also that support from the team. And I think what you're building, what you're looking to accomplish is increasingly important. And at the end of the day, Hizzy nailed it. The right answer, I think, if we move forward, is not just not choosing abstract or ape chain or base or mainnet. Rather, go ahead and launch your collection on wherever you'd like. Go launch it on mainnet, but then partner up with Unvault, who, while yes, they're a partner, yes, they sponsor a segment on the show. I'm not being paid to say this, but they really can help. Go multi-chain. Go multi-chain with Unvault. Their solution is extremely affordable, far less than what you pay a dev, and you can launch on all these chains. I think all that we just mentioned, ape chain, abstract, and base, all are live.
Came on the space yesterday.
Just a great solution. It's like we talk a lot about I beat the royalty drum, and they'll help protect royalties, and you can share royalties with your holder base if you want. But equally important, you're able to tap into the liquidity of all chains. And now the pushback, just to keep it real, to steal a line from another sponsor or sponsored segment, it's probably unlikely that you get the same level of support from the team of those on those L2s. It's probably less likely that you get Luca support or ApeCo support if you launch on mainnet and then launch with Unvault, where you're multi-chain and on those other chains. I think it's probably more likely if you're exclusive to where you're going to get the support and funding, et cetera, from the L2s. But I think as we move forward, I think we'll see more and more. I hope we see more and more of the multi-chain approach. You don't have to go in Vault, but check them out. Reach out to Aaron, reach out to Ernest, talk, see what they're doing. I think you'd probably be blown away with what it costs to go multi-chain, protect your royalties, share those royalties, all the above. And I think we see more and more multi-chain approach because not all the L2s are going to make it. Not all the chains are going to make it. A lot won't make it, in fact. I think there is going to be consolidation, but there's definitely going to be more than just ETH mainnet. There's definitely going to be more than just ETH and Solana and Hyperliquid, Mega ETH. Mega ETH has some stuff cooking too. I think we might get one of the Mega ETH dApps on teams on next week. And by the way, I know we've plugged, I've showed the referral link for the Mega Corp, which is launching on Mega ETH. They delayed their mint, but I don't know exactly when. I expect that would be April as well. But like if you're building an on-chain game where the full thing is on-chain, you probably should look at Mega ETH, whether it's you launch there or you go multi-chain and have your gaming assets on Mega ETH. But I think, like, as I think through, my time holding an ape, now there's shadows available and you can delegate wallets, all that. But I like that asset being on ETH mainnet. I'm not going to play with that asset on ETH mainnet. It doesn't make sense to build a game on ETH mainnet, but it exists in other side now because of the how they've launched, and it's not as full a solution as like what Unvault is in the works, but I do have a version of that NFT on Ape Chain, so where when I pop another side, my asset is there. Jammer says only jumped in on mini games because of Cheeses, Moody, and baking for the badge. Jamber has been super active this morning. Always, longtime friend of the show. He's been extra active this morning, both in abstract and YouTube chat. Jamber, are you able to jump on stream by chance? Could you join us for a coffee with Captain? If not, no obligations. We're still going to give you the pool. I just would need you to be able to tell me whether you want to swap it or keep whatever you pull. I know there's a slight delay, so I'll wait till you answer back. But Jambert's going to be doing our coffee with Captain for Friday. While we're waiting on Jamber, I do want to get our last live read in. Get a market update. Let's see what happened following the non-farm payrolls exceeding expectations by a good margin. This is the daily market update brought to you by Awaken Tax. Head to awaken.tax, use code coffee50 or return coffee50 to save $50 off your tax prep. It is crypto software built by crypto natives, and they continually update their app over there. They're now even giving you free support for those 1099 DA tax forms you get from Coinbase or Kraken. And you got less than 2 weeks now to get your taxes filed. So again, awaken.tax. If you're a new user, code coffee50. If you're a returning user, return coffee50. This is our daily market update brought to you by Awaken.
It's market update time. Let's set the play. Powered by Awaken, the smart tax way. From crypto flips to DeFi stacks. They keep it clean. Got your back. Grab your coffee. Let's break it down. Daily update right now.
Man, first market update. It's not going to show on the leaderboard yet, but as I went over to CoinMarketCap, I saw ApeCoin. Speaking of ApeChain, ApeCoin up 8% on the day. One of the larger winners over there from on the 24-hour clock standpoint. I'm not sure what drove that, but love to see it. I don't hold a huge bag of Ape anymore, but obviously big fan of. I do hold some, and big fan of the ecosystem, and certainly rooting for it. Looking at majors, though, we got Bitcoin flat. Up almost 1% to 66,540. ETH up 1% to 2,044. XRP up 2.69%. BNB up 2.66%. Solana up 3%. Doge up 2%. Tron is the only one down on the day in the top 10. Hyperliquid, I'm kicking myself because I said yesterday on the show, Hyperliquid was going to be my trade of the day. I was going to long it because it was the biggest loser yesterday. It was down 5, 6, 7%. I said, look like a buying opportunity or a longing opportunity. I did not. I got shaken out because there was a tweet that went viral. Some whale apparently unstaked, I don't know how many millions of dollars of Hyperliquid. So speculation is they're going to sell. I will give, I think, our guy Phonics credit. He says 90% of the time this happens and a whale unstakes, nothing happens. Nothing happens the majority of the time. They're just moving funds or unstaking. Doesn't necessarily lead to a dump off or a sell. And often most whales they're not just going to nuke a chart by dumping everything in one swoop. So I did not. I was waiting for the whale to sell. The whale has not sold yet, and it has been a nice rebound on the day. So long would have paid, could have cashed your tickets, but I got shaken out by other people's opinions. Don't do what I do. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. There is proof evident. Should have trusted my gut versus some random person on Twitter that told me a whale was going to dump. So I waited and did not get the long open. So we may go back today. Heading over to OpenSea to look at NFT markets. Real quick, we haven't talked about yet on the show Panini going to OpenSea. They moved their, they actually had I'll come back to that because I don't know all the details, but I did see the OpenSea Panini announcement. Inks from Quirkies, I think they just had a new mint go off. I don't know if this is a new collection or I don't think it's the new collection, but something was going on there with Quirkies. I should know. I missed it. Gimboys up once again, another 33% of the day. We talked about this on the show earlier this week. The mint was, I think, 368. So up almost a 5x from mint already. Congratulations to all the minters. I'm not salty because my shadow didn't work and I didn't get eligibility, even though I should have. I'm not salty about that at all. I'm not going to bitch or gripe about it anymore. I might gripe about it once or twice more, but I'll try not to. CryptoPunks down percent to 27.49. I did see I'm drawing a blank. OTC Punk OTC, the main OTC desk for punks mentioned that he bearish take from someone who's a lot of punk exposure. Bearish in the sense that he said the current punk market reminded him of the Bored Ape Yacht Club market after OSF and Mando sold, where there was buyers. They gave you the impression that the floor was holding up, but the buyers were different buyers, not the same. Let me see if I can find his post so I can quote it correctly. Jordan, what's the handle? Punk OTC. I can't find him. X search, unsurprisingly, is not great. Punk's OTC. There's an S in it. That's why. Punk's OTC, even Bored Ape Yacht Club premium ape holders have lowered their valuations, becoming more realistic with asking prices. Meanwhile, Punk zombie owners seem completely detached from the market, turning down $400,000 USD bids. No one's selling a zombie Punk for 400K, I don't think. Here's the post I was referring to. Much smaller scale, but I think the Punk market feels a bit like the Bored Ape market after OSF sold. There's enough bidders to give the illusion of prices holding up, but the number of sellers keeps increasing, and the recent net buyers aren't people that typically collect. Frosty says, now imagine Yuga sells their stack into bids. I don't think Yuga would do that, but yeah, Yuga's still sitting on, I don't know, 400 punks, maybe 1,000 punks. I don't know that. I think 400 for some reason, it's the number in my head. But back to the rest of the NFT market. This is Pudgy's up almost 1% to 4.06. Hypers down 1% to 3.99. Apes up almost 2% to 5.27. Inks, as I mentioned, that's the Quirkies sub collection at 0.1. Mutants up 1% to 0.75. Gimbos, we just talked about 1,600 ape. That's up 33% of the day. Normies 0.12. Little Pudgies up 1.5% to 0.43. Fugs up 5% after their announcement of moving to mainnet. They're at 0.06 ETH. Quirkies flat at 1.16, almost up 1%. Moonbirds flat at 0.77. Doodles up 2% to 0.49. VFriends, it's showing down on the day, but I don't remember being 1.42. I must have missed that yesterday. I think they must have ripped up again before being down to flat on the day. But VFriends quietly breaking into that next tier of. They keep at it. We'll be talking apes, Pudgies, and VFriends in that short list of the tier 2 behind punks. If they keep things going. BZ Explorer Claw, 1,092 flow. Milady's 1.2, down 1% on the day. And that is our daily market update brought to you by Awaken Tax. Again, head to awaken.tax, use code COFFEE, or if you're a returning user, return COFFEE50 to save $50 off your tax prep software. Speaking of BZ and their Explorer thing being up, Jamber is
I got
here.
a Panini thing yesterday in my OpenSea airdrop.
Oh, nice. What was it?
Yeah,
Was it a slab?
I got an OpenSea pull for one of the OpenSea claw machine on BZ. I went and pulled it, and I got a Panini Blaster Box 2025 NFL.
Nice.
I think it was a blaster box or a booster box, but it has like 90 cards in it. So I'm waiting on. I was gonna actually ask Joey that because I was waiting on the redeem function to like. You have to wait like a day or two to get the redemption. So I guess they have to authorize it and make sure they have the item. So yeah, so now I'm waiting on 2025 Panini Score Football Blaster Box.
Nice.
So
Congrats.
I'm pumped to get that. I'm gonna open it live. on the screen.
I am getting the itch as well. I'm going to blame Steve on this. I know he's deep in the cardboard streets, ripping packs. He's a BZ VIP, and I'm getting the itch to start collecting some more of these. I need to do is I need to build up my Pokemon collection of characters that I may or may not be able to pronounce. Inks, appreciate you, Jamber. Inks is an older collection, but they just redid the art. Here's a few one-of-ones I have pictured on the screen. Flora and those is 2.99, 5.5, 80th of the 5 one-of-ones that have been revealed. Poppy continuing to move, and speaking of strong communities and active founders in the trenches, much respect. And also
that mint was originally set by the original team.
Okay.
And it didn't mint out. And Poppy and them, in order to move the IP forward for the whole story, wanted to mint out the remaining part of the collection. I think it was like 1,500 or 2,000 or something like that. And they decided now was the best time to do it. And
Nice.
it didn't take very, dude, 11 and a half hours space yesterday is how long Poppy was hosting a space for that community yesterday.
Sheesh.
During the whole mint process. It was wild.
The guy's a grinder, brick by brick for sure. And congrats to Poppy and anyone over there. Hope some of you pulled a 101. We need to get Poppy back on here. I told him we'd do a actual. He pops on from time to time. I told him we'd get him on to do a full debrief and an interview. I will see if we can get that set up for next week. Dobbins, congratulations. Dobbin took my financial advice yesterday and longed hype when I mentioned it on the show. Congrats on the print, sir. Happy for you. Jamber, I see you're available. I see you're in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go get this Coffee with Captain set up here. Can you just give me a thumbs up or a yes, you're good for, I think I've got 15 minutes to decide whether you want to swap or not. And so it's not an instant thing, but I know you're on the clock or in and out of the day job and might not be here for the whole thing. So let me just give me a yeah, we're good to go, and you'll get your Coffee with Captain Claw pull in here. And speaking of BZ, big quarter, record-breaking quarter. I think they broke records every single month, if I'm not mistaken. Congrats to the BZ team. I'm not being paid to say this, although I do have the badge courtesy of BZ. So full disclosure, I am a little biased, and they are. This Coffee with Captain is brought to you by BZ. So sponsor segment, but I don't have to shill their data or their stats. I am genuinely excited for them. After a breakout Q4, people were wondering what else they could achieve. 3 all-time highs so far in the 3 months of 2026. 60 million in total volume in Q1. 30 million in total revenue on Base. #1 consumer app on Base. Congratulations. To doubling down, tie it all together, the earlier topic of going multi-chain, VZ started on Blast, leveraged the Blast Gold and the excitement around pre-TGE to build some momentum, was kind of let down. I don't know. This is me saying this, not them. The whole promise of a consumer app and mobile product, I think, kind of fell flat, and the excitement left pretty quickly following TGE, and just not a lot there. Say they migrated to Flow, and continued to build, had a record-breaking Q4, and then decided to go multi-chain by launching on Base in Q1, and boom, massive results. You can see the chart here on screen. If you're not, to give you an idea, it was around 10 million in January, 24 million in February, and then he topped it again at 27 million in March. record after record month for BZ. Again, big congrats. Love to see it. And with that, we are going to do a silver claw pull today. We're going to do Coffee with Captain for our friend Jambert. Jambert, good luck. I hope you pull a grail. Let's do a proper play in first. So the people love the jingle. So let's do this. Let's do a real Coffee with Captain here. This is a Coffee with Captain brought to you by BZ.
Coffee with Captain. Give that claw a spin. Salted grills from BC. Prizes within. Mystery and magic. Where to begin? Coffee with Captain. It's your time to win.
Jambert, it's your time to win. This is Coffee with Captain, again, brought to you by BZ. You can see here some of the chase items we're looking for. There's a $1,389 Rayquaza. I think that's going to be the winner today, now that I've said it earlier. Didn't know it was going to be the chase item. We have a Kujaka. I'm probably saying that one wrong. Blame One Piece. And an Ethan Barron versus Najuru. Definitely saying these wrong. But Rayquaza, I think I've got down pat. So it's a Mint 9, 2006. Rayquaza, foil, hollow, phantoms. This is what our guy Jambert's going to pull here. Good luck. Let's get Jambert a Rayquaza. It is underway. You can see a couple of these are valued over to $1,000. This is the $50 silver claw pull for our guy Jambert, celebrating just a fun Friday. I just realized it's already 10 o'clock, so we'll fly through those headlines here in a minute, but we needed to get this claw pull in. Time's flying when you're having fun. I appreciate Jesus and Andrew jumping up, obviously Joey as well, but really enjoyed the conversation today and on all things from media to eggs. And a $31 swap offer for a 2007 Japanese Shining Darkness Flygon. It's a PSA 9. It is a Pokemon. Flygon, I can say. I hope I'm saying Flygon right. This is like a Pokemon made for Cap. They called it Flygon. It's a hollow, Shining Darkness. I can pronounce all those words. It is a 2007 Mint 9. Jambert, let me know if you want to swap it for $31, so probably about $30 after fees. Or I'm happy to send you this Shining Darkness Flygon for your BZ collection. Let me know in the chat if you want to keep it or swap it. Oh my goodness, I'm sharing the wrong screen. Wow, that's talk about dropping the ball on a Coffee with Captain. Here's the correct screen. You can see the Shining Darkness Flygon. My apologies. Yeah, it'll come through in a second now. Producer Payne tried to help me out there, but I was a little late getting back to the chat. Go figure. One of these days, I will run a flawless show. It's not today. Blame the 20 grams of creatine. Clearly didn't work. My processing was not up 24.5% this morning. Case in point was not doing the proper screen share there. I hope you at least got the music. I'm guessing the music as well didn't come through because I was sharing the wrong tab. But Jambert, do you want to keep the Flygon? Do you want to swap it? It's $31, be about $30 after fees. Thoughts on selling Pokemon cards on chain? I think it's a heck of a lot easier than selling them off chain. I'm biased here. BZ's supporting me with the badge and Coffee with Captain. But yeah, I think when I say I want to get into collecting, I'm not looking to go buy a bunch of cardboard and then have to deal with listing and creating an eBay account. I am much more inclined to buying these digital assets. Now, ribbon packs are fun. I will give you that. But I think I'd rather do a claw machine as opposed to going to Walmart, buying some packs, and then having to deal with getting them graded, et cetera, et cetera. Jamber's going to swap it and use it for some basketball pool. Good luck. Jamber, do me a favor, shoot me a DM with your wallet, either EVM wallet or your BZ profile, your BZ wallet, and I will get you, I'll get this sent over to you this morning. 2914 is coming your way, enough for a, hopefully a nice basketball card or to your point, those claw machines, if you're not familiar, there is a wild card, which is a $30 pool. The silver, which we just did, is a $50 pool. They have a gold TCG that's $250 and a platinum TCG that is $500. And yeah, you will shoot me your wallet, Jamber, and I'll get that right over to you. Congratulations, well deserved. Appreciate you, sir, for all the support. And I know you're a busy guy. I know you got a lot going on in the morning, so grateful you taking a little bit of time out of your day to join us here live. I said that the War Room is now writing the show. Mayhem brings in sometimes scary news items. This one is more than 3 million bottles of eye drops sold at CVS and Walgreens recalled over sterility issues. You mean the eye drops will make you go sterile if you're in baby making mode? I guess check your eye drops. We did have, I think we talked about Kirk Cousins signing. That was breaking news yesterday on the show, signing with the Raiders. I can't picture. I couldn't have. If you say who'd be a good mentor for Fernando Mendoza, I would say Kirk Cousins with Tom Brady on the ownership team. Like, the guy is being set up. I think he probably doesn't start week 1 now, but I think he will start this year, and I think that's good. I think it'll be best for his development, best for his long-term success in the league, and the guy's going to get paid. He's got. I may be wrong here. I think Cousins and Brady, Rodgers might have earned more in his NFL career, but they're 2 of the top 5 for sure, maybe 2 of the top 3 in terms of career earnings in the NFL. And yeah, not only is he going to be mentored on the field, but he will be mentored on how to maximize his earning potential in the NFL for sure. Just as long as he doesn't invest in FTX, he should be fine. You didn't get that joke. Tom Brady was a investor in FTX and one of the ones that got, I think, was part of a suit. I don't know whatever came of those suits. A lot of the celebrities that took deals from FTX got named in lawsuits, but I never saw what came of it. Might still be going on, but just made me think of it. Jambert, again, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for the support. Jolly Elf had Simple Farmer thirst trap photos holding up the whole chain. Yeah, that is Simple Farmer definitely doing his part to support Ape Chain for sure. Diablito, I remember Flygon from Pokemon Go. I do not, but pretty good looking card. Again, congrats on the pool and good luck on your next pool, Jambert. Appreciate you very much. A few other flyover items will get y'all out of here today. I'm just going to read the headlines. I'll pin these posts up top if you want to do some additional research. We talked about the Coinbase approval for the National Trust Charter. Again, gives them some banking capabilities, but not a full bank, but one step closer. Keeping it with the Coinbase headlines, they did just say they are one step closer to, this is from Mr. Crypto, says they just said they're hours away from the final crypto market structure deal. This came out at 2:41 a.m. So saw it on X. It must be true. We're getting close. I kid. I don't know. It could be a ways off. What is real news for sure, though, is the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, says tokenization is reshaping regulated finance by moving assets onto programmable ledgers, delivering efficiency gains, but requiring strong policy and trust anchors to protect stability. Read our new IMF note on the issue. Just, I think IMF is made up of like 192 countries or delegates from 192 countries. Pretty big deal. They put a whole, basically their version of a white paper. It's a PDF that's almost a full megabyte, 23 pages, talking about the future of finance and tokenization. And man, I couldn't be more bullish long-term where we're at. The tailwinds we have are unlike anything I can remember in crypto. I think if and when the global uncertainty settles and we get some rest on the geopolitical front, I think we could absolutely send. Now, that could be April. That could be October. It could be April of 2027. I don't know when, but man, there is so much that a lot of this stuff was pipe dreams not long ago. Just a couple years ago, this stuff we would be doing backflips if this stuff happened. One of these is this 402 Foundation, X402 Foundation. Just look at the names on here: AWS, American Express, Base, Circle, Coinbase, Google, MasterCard, Microsoft, Polygon, Shopify, Stripe, Solana, Visa. Imagine, we said, all these companies are going to join a foundation. This was under the Linux Foundation or merged with the Linux Foundation. It was initiated by Coinbase, Cloudflare, and Stripe. a broad coalition of industry leaders. The X402 protocol is a universal standard that embeds payments directly into web interactions. It enables AI agents, APIs, and apps to send and receive value or money as easily as they trade data. By giving the protocol a neutral, community-governed home, we are ensuring that sending value online becomes simple and interoperable as sending an email. Earlier talking about TBPN, they also had Jeremy Allure. I might be saying his last name wrong. The CEO of Circle was on there yesterday, and talking about how sometimes like you just in conversation, an authentic, genuine conversation where hosts aren't just reading off a script or canned questions, rather pulling on some strings, asking some questions that might not be asked before. Jeremy yesterday had this to say. He said, right now, the AI community is more excited about crypto than the crypto community. And I think he's probably spot on. You see this stuff like this XO402 and these big brands, these big names that are pouring into it, and all the AI developers they know their agents are going to transact on chain. Like there's so much of a groundswell coming from the AI community. And if you look at crypto Twitter, you'd think it's doom and gloom and it's over. It's wild to me how go opposite directions it feels like sentiment is going from the AI, those deep in the AI streets versus those deep in the crypto streets. And it's going to take a little time, but I really do believe there's so many tailwinds for crypto at large. Very exciting time to be here. And it's going to be an interesting weekend. We have markets closed today. I would not be surprised if we get some other major news dump from the U.S. administration. Maybe they don't wait till 4:35 because markets are already closed, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a volatile weekend and something else coming out of, whether it's Iran or otherwise, but maybe we get this crypto market structure deal done today. I would be surprised if that happens on Good Friday, but it seems like some things are heating up there, and next week should be exciting for sure. Diablito just shared, this is from Cointelegraph yesterday, Canada, their new stablecoin framework will require issuers to maintain one-of-one reserves, register with the Bank of Canada, and offer at-par redemptions. Full regulations expected to come in force by 2027. It's programmed, like it's happening. What does that mean for your NFT bags or your altcoin bags? I don't know. It's probably not going to do anything in the short term, but the world is coming on chain, and like they're not putting the genie back in the bottle. They're putting like the train has left the station, as they might say. Like it is happening. It's just a matter of how much, how fast, and a lot of this stuff, because it is institutions, it is nation state governments. Like it's going to take some time, but it's beyond a signal at this point. They're telling you, like the deals, in many cases, the deals are done. It is just a matter of when, and then what is the downstream impact of stuff like this X402 Foundation and all these big brands getting behind agentic commerce and agents transacting on chain. So very exciting time to be here. Thank you all so much for those who joined us today. It is a Friday. We'll get you out of here. Apologies for running a little bit long today. I know you all got places to go, but appreciate the conversation. Thanks again to Jesus and Andrew and Joey for joining us. Shout out to BZ for that Coffee with Captain pull this morning. Congrats, Jamber. Very well deserved. And you don't have to. I mentioned that those invites are coming soon for the War Room if you'd like to continue the conversation. Also, head over to coffeewithcaptain.com, drop your email. We will be the newsletter, the weekly newsletter will go out tomorrow. We'll get you links, reminders, recap on the week at large, and look for those invites coming soon if you'd like to join us in the chat to keep the conversation going. But as I said earlier, Jesus has his space at 11. You got Andrew's interview and go catch. A lot of other good content out there. Support your independent crypto creators. Maybe one of them, maybe Jesus or Andrew is the next one to sell to OpenAI for $100 million plus. I was playing around with it yesterday. I don't know. I think Claude with Captain has a good ring. Claude fee with Captain, maybe. I don't know. Anthropic, if you're listening in, there's a number for everything. And my number will be less than 100 million. So DMs are open. With that, thanks again for tuning in today. Appreciate y'all. Had a great week. Enjoy your weekends. Enjoy Easter for those who celebrate. If you're not celebrating Easter, I hope you have some enjoyable time with your friends and family this weekend. We'll be back Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a great one, everyone.